In 1943, a warship vanished into thin air, and when it returned, some of its crew were fused into the steel itself. This is the terrifying true story of the Philadelphia experiment. According to witnesses, the U.S. Navy attempted something unthinkable, using Einstein's unified field theory to bend light and magnetism around a ship, rendering it invisible. It sounds like science fiction, but the tale is rooted in reality. The vessel was the USS Eldridge, a destroyer escort. The test began on October 28, 1943, in the early morning hours in Philadelphia's harbor. At first, everything seemed to be going well. The ship shimmered as its hull became invisible, or so it should have. But in reality, witnesses ashore reported seeing a blue light emanating from the vessel, indicating its engines were still working and that it was still emitting heat. Then it disappeared, gone. Not cloaked, not hidden, just gone. One witness, a police officer named Frank Ryan, later told the story to the Philadelphia Inquirer. He said, quote, "It vanished right before my eyes. I could see the officers on the bridge. They were waving their arms as if signaling to someone. I couldn't see anyone on board the ship after that. The water around the ship seemed to be boiling. Minutes later, the ship reappeared, but when it did, it was clear something had gone terribly wrong. The officer on watch had become embedded in the metal deck. His name was Carl McAllister. He was stuck fast, unable to move. Other sailors were slumped at their posts, their bodies vanishing into the metal as if it were quicksand. Some were found wandering the deck, seemingly unharmed. Others simply vanished without a trace. In total, 5 crewmen were killed during the experiment. Some stories say 5, others say 22. Officially, the Navy denies it ever happened. Skeptics say it's a myth, a story born of confusion and wartime secrecy. But others insist it was real. And in the days following the supposed disaster, rumors spread that the ship had not just vanished, but that it had also teleported hundreds of miles away to Norfolk, Virginia. There it reappeared, not at the appointed time and not in the appointed place. But how could it have moved without anyone noticing? The ship was only visible from certain angles when it arrived in Norfolk. It was docked in such a way that it was not immediately noticed. Some sailors who had been on board the Eldridge claimed that they had seen other ships, other vessels that were invisible, that they had traveled in a fleet. The story remained dormant for decades until it was leaked by a Navy insider. By the 1970s, investigative journalist William Moore had tracked down more than 30 witnesses, and he published his findings in a book called The Philadelphia Experiment. A new investigation was opened. The Navy denied the story, witnesses were discredited, and yet, strange things happened. One scientist claimed that after reviewing declassified documents, he realized that the Philadelphia experiment was real. He said that the Navy report mentioned a unified field, which aligned with Einstein's theories. He also said that the documents spoke of an invisibility screen, though no such thing existed in Einstein's work. Years later, other scientists came forward claiming the documents were misinterpreted. They said the invisibility screen was nothing more than a radar reflector used to protect the ship from detection. As for the missing crew, they explained that the sailors were never fused to the ship. Instead, they suffered horrific burns and in some cases were disintegrated. But there are too many witnesses, there are too many reports, and in the end, we may never know what really happened. What we do know is that Einstein's unified field theory predicted that light and magnetism could be manipulated, that it could be bent to the point that objects would cease to exist, that they would vanish from our reality. If that's true, if the Philadelphia experiment was a success, it means invisibility and teleportation were achieved over 80 years ago, and the world's most powerful military has been hiding it. What else have they developed in the shadows since? The Philadelphia experiment remains a haunting tale of science, secrecy, and sacrifice. And it leaves us asking, if mankind discovered the power to vanish entire ships, would you ever tell us? Thanks for watching. For more videos of this kind, please stay tuned.